After the tantalising glimpse we had had of the castle, trespass was inevitable. With the agile skill of Russian gymnasts, we were up and over the gate and into the garden in moments. All around, the lawns had reverted to ragwort and thistle, and the laurel hedges were bolting for the blue sky. It was like another world within the confines of those high stone walls. We patted the huge girth of a fine cedar of Lebanon. A sign nailed to its trunk said this tree is one of 12 cedars planted in 1625 in honour of Charles I's wedding. An arch at the end of a narrow path beckoned us forward. Carved into the spandrels were a lion and an eagle, their foreheads troubled by frowns. A wall of tangled foliage kept the house hidden until the very last moment, when we ducked under the archway into a large courtyard. Peter and I stood speechless. It was a moment of profound revelation to me. It was the house in the sepia photographs, the memory of which I'd carried around all these years. It was the dream incarnate. I felt like some medieval pilgrim come in from the desert, happening upon some ancient and glittering city for the first time. In all our searching, I'd never seen such a beautiful place. My name is Judy Corbett, and this is my book, Castles in the Air, and the subtitle is The Restoration Adventures of Two Young Optimists and a Crumbling Old Mansion. The house was very, very derelict when we bought it, and so we've been, I think it's now nearly 20 years, we've spent restoring it. There were horses and chickens living inside it when we came. We wanted to move straight in and be with the house, and frankly we didn't have any money to do otherwise. You know, we were really stretched, having just raised enough money to get a mortgage to buy the house. We've spent a great deal of time, you know, fixing up the roof and living with buckets, catching the drips. It was quite tough actually those first few weeks. This is the gate that we jumped over on that fateful afternoon, and we were doing our bit of trespassing here at Gwydir, and we then stumbled into this part of the garden, and it looked very different to what it looks now because we've obviously done quite a bit of work, but it was completely overgrown and very romantic, and ivy covering absolutely everything. We just saw these glimpses of the house peeping through the foliage, and then that was it. There was the arch at the bottom there. We emerged through the arch, and suddenly there was the house in front of us, and that was it really. Our fates were sealed. There had also been some, I suppose, inappropriate things that happened to the house. One of which was the house was actually being run as a rave venue at one point, and they put in some, you know, temporary nasty pink bathrooms and swirling carpets, and there was, I think, it was, you know, even a bar that they'd put in one of the rooms, complete with a whole row of optics, you know, across a fireplace. So there was a lot of clearing out of all that rubbish really, and trying to get back to the bones of the house and the structure of the house. But the house is also listed Grade 1, as indeed are the gardens. It's of, you know, really historically of, you know, quite high significance, especially in terms of Wales. Gwydir has had a remarkable history. I mean, it's really one of those really interesting sort of ancient Welsh houses that's just sat here kind of grumpily in its Gothicness for years and years and years, hundreds of years. The oldest part of the house dates from about 1420. It was built by a chap called Howell Coitmore. And then really, like every house, every old house, you know, since that date in 1420, it's been added to every 50 years since it was built, really. So bits of it have been pulled down, and bits of it have been rebuilt, and bits have been added to. So it's sort of grown over the years, and bits have been demolished consequently as well. I think, looking back, it was the fact that we really wanted to move to North Wales, back to North Wales. I was actually born and bred here in North Wales, and I love it very much. I'm very place specific. I love the mountains. I'm very drawn to this part of the world. The landscape is extraordinary. I've never really seen anywhere like it. I've travelled a bit, but I I come back to Gwydir and I think, wow, this is, for my money, this is one of the most beautiful places on this planet. And I'm so lucky to have it right here on my doorstep. Having Gwydir sitting here with the mountains all around it, I think there's that sense of almost being like a pilgrim turning up somewhere. You get that sense of having arrived at somewhere. And North Wales is so profoundly beautiful, and so the scenery is so dramatic. I love that feeling to it, that sense of remoteness, that sense that you are in the mountain fastness here, really. And I think Gwydir has something of its context, in its walls, in its DNA almost. It feels that it has a terrific sense of place.